Oh boy, running late, but I am here. What is up, friends? Now I don't know what I gotta do. Okay. Should probably actually look at stuff. Let me pull this over here. Let me... do one of these. Let me tweet about stuff. Let's put the notes out in places. How does one even... let's see. Then I'm over on YouTube. That's probably the right place to be. Grab one of these. Okay. Bear with me if you've already showed up. I had this great idea to get camera 1 and camera 2 going again, thinking to myself, this is genius. Well, I'll look so good. And then could not get myself pulled together. And so I was like screeching into the finish line to get everything turned on. It's all fine. Everything is fine. Hello, friends. What's up, Steph? Sanania, yes, I am working on it. The design is a little bit chaotic, and I'm noticing now that this camera is supposed to be zoomed in a little bit. It's not. Hold, please, while I do some live tweaking. Actually, you got this app that lets you do stuff from your phone, which is good. Building a brand live. Yeah, exactly. So let's see. Let's go in a little bit tighter here. About like that, right? Because then when I switch between the two, it's a little more obvious that I'm actually switching cameras, right? And you can't see, if I'm zoomed all the way out, you can actually see back here, there's a light that I'm not going to zoom back out to show it. This is this is not optical zoom. This is digital zoom, which I know that's not the best idea, but this is a prime lens, and I can't get this camera any closer. It's literally like, that is, I don't know, maybe 10 inches away from my finger, and it's at the back of the desk. So like I can't bring it any closer without it being in the shot with this lens. So I'm working on, I'm going to borrow, a friend of mine has a 50 millimeter lens that I'm going to borrow and try and see how I like it. My guess is that I'm going to like it, because I think the 50 is going to put me closer to this frame without any digital zoom. But who knows? We'll see. Maybe I'll try it and I'll hate it. The other thing I want to try is I want this camera. This camera is probably 6 feet away from me right now. I'm going to get a 70-200 zoom lens, and I think I'm going to push this like 15 feet away from me and then zoom in. And I think what'll end up happening is the background is going to look just sick at that focal length. So yeah, we're gonna see how it goes, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, today I just launched a new thing, and I'm very happy with it. It looks like it's got some issues, so we're gonna see if we can debug those, and just from there, I don't know. Like if you've got questions, you want to talk about some stuff, hit me. I would love to. I'd love to run through any career type questions. Oh, Steph, you got the 50? Ooh, I like that. Could use that, Dolly. Hey, what's up, Nick? How are you? And congrats on the launch. Thank you very much. I'm very happy that has been getting the reception that it's been getting. It is such a relief because honestly, that was one of those, like, I had a hunch. I've seen it work in other fields. Like there's, it was modeled. Sorry, for anybody who's not aware what I'm talking about, why don't I actually pull this thing up so that I can show you? This is. Can I get in here without it playing? No. Oh, come on. How do I just go through here and then. Okay, so let me actually share my screen now. We'll just share the entire screen because I'm not going to share any audio just yet. And let's do this view. I feel like this one's more, I don't know, maybe this one. Yeah, that's fine. We'll go with that. What I really want is, actually, I wonder if I can do this live. Let's make a new one live. Let's do it. I'm going to add my camera, and I want it to be over here. And I want it to be like, can I crop this? See, this is what I want, is I want it to be like this, but I want it to zoom. Can I do that? Nope, that was the wrong button. And I don't want this to be like a camera slot specifically. I want it to, oh, come on, how do I make it? Can't make it like full screen. That sucks. That feels like that should work. And then if I put my screen up here, right? And then that kind of comes up in this area. And we do one of these, and then we do one of these, and we can kind of position it so that whatever's down in the bottom doesn't cover it up. You can see what's going on. I can move this little banner out of the way. Come on, get out of here. And then, okay, but I want solo layout. Man, I really want that to be, I want this to be like taller. How do I make this full screen? Solo layout. No, God damn it. This feels like it should be easier. Okay, so I want this one to be fit or fill. There it is, fill. Okay, so that's too much. Something like that. Is that too much face? What do y'all think? Should we do it kind of like one of these maybe and bring this back over? What do y'all think? Is it good? I'm gonna roll with this. I think this is okay. We can even. This is fine. We'll keep the learn with Jason in there. Yeah, me live reacting to me. Whew. You got a reverb? Is everybody else getting a reverb? There are like background noises and stuff here. I'm in a studio, and so the studio is like, I don't know. It's a big old concrete box, right? So this mic is pretty good at rejecting most of that, but it doesn't get all of it. And so there's definitely some issues. But anyways, so I was going to talk about this series. So I just released a new series. I'll drop a link to it in the chat. This series is something that I have been working on for a few months now. I've got more episodes already recorded. We're into the editing phase now. This came from something that I saw Andrew Huang do, and I guess Andrew Huang got it from Jessica Kolbasi, and I don't know if Jessica created it or if she borrowed it from somebody else, but it's a format that's pretty, like, I love it because it's so flexible. And the idea is that you take 4 professionals in a space and you give them a challenge, and the challenge is open-ended enough that they can create their own version of the thing. So Jessica Kolbasi, who I think is the first one who did this, her series was called 4 Photographers Shoot the Same Model. And then Andrew Huang used that concept in music, and it's 4 producers flip the same sample. I have also seen it done in interior design, like Architectural Digest has one of these. I've seen it done in game dev, and in a handful of other places. And it's a fun format. And so I decided I would love to do this. I want to be part of one of these. What would I be able to participate as? Well, I can be a web dev. So I called up some of my friends and hit up, some folks that I admire in the space. And I said, hey, I got this thing I'm doing. I think it's going to be fun. Do you want to be part of it? And this was a huge risk for me because I absolutely did not validate this. I went all in. Like I said, I've shot 5 episodes of this already. So if the first one would have flopped, I would already be on the hook for like 7 more. And so, this is good. I also think, like, I don't know, I have been making tutorials, and the thing I love about tutorials is that I like to teach people things. The thing that I've struggled with tutorials is that they're just not particularly interesting if you are not trying to solve that specific problem. Like how to add SSO to a Node Express app is so useful when you are doing exactly that thing, but you're probably not going to watch it otherwise, right? And so the thing that I've struggled with a little bit is that my goal is to make stuff that's fun to watch, and a tutorial is like, can be fun, but it's usually more like reference material, right? And so the other problem I have is that this is my full-time job. Like, I make Learn with Jason and other shows for my living. This is the whole job that I have. And if I am doing stuff that's not working, then I have to, it gets me in trouble. So, I needed to find, I don't need to, I can keep doing tutorials forever because, like, it works. But what I really wanted to do is I wanted to find something that balanced, like, can we do web education? Can we do community? Can we do collaboration? Can we focus on the fun part of things and still have that somehow pay the bills? Because that's sort of the existential balance that I have to strike, is like, I have to do things that companies will pay for, and I want to do things that are fun and valuable. So this show is, I hope, that balance, because, it's got the Iron Chef style, like, you have an ingredient that you have to use. It's got the community and collaboration. We're not doing a competition. There are no winners and losers. It's just this sort of celebration of let's be creative. And the constraints are, like, you've got this prompt and you've got this tool, and you're going to, those are the constraints you have to work within. And I find that has been, for me at least, some of the most fun that I've had. Like, I've built a few of these now. You've seen me build a couple of them on previous Tuesday streams if you've been here. Those episodes are still being edited and getting ready for launch. But, like, it's fun. I'm like excited to work on these, and if it's able to replace the tutorial income. And the other thing too is, like, at a certain point, companies just aren't going to sponsor some of the stuff that I want to do. And so that has led me to the other problem I have, which is, like, I've been trying to decide, like, do I want to be somebody who's always pushing, like, a Patreon or a GitHub sponsors or something? And I conceded that I think I do need to be, because if y'all chip in, $5 a month, and there are enough of us chipping in that $5 a month, then I can afford to sponsor my own episodes and we can do whatever we want. So this is going to be, I'm so sorry, but the first of probably many shameless plugs where I ask people to sponsor me on GitHub, because if you do that, then I can make the really ridiculous stuff that has no business value whatsoever and it's just fun. Until that point, I have to include some business value, which I like to do. I really do like to do. And even if we are fully funded, like crowdfunded, the stuff will still be professionally useful. It just won't have to like be commercially useful to a particular company for them to want to sponsor it. Okay. So anyways, that's where we are. Oh, here's a good question. So, fresh front-end developer, React-oriented, and the market is rough. That is definitely true. If I want to learn full stack, what do you suggest? Node, Next, Python, PHP, or Java? If there are a lot of companies in your area with the stack of Java and Angular, I would say, like, if your goal is to get a job, do the thing that's got the most demand, right? Like if you've got network that will introduce you to companies that do Java and Angular, then I mean, why not, right? Like that's a great way to get the income coming in. It helps you build out your skill set, and the things that you'll learn being a back-end dev in Java are similar enough to the back-end things that you'll learn in PHP or Node or whatever, that a lot of that skill is transferable. You know, you're learning the language, you're not learning the concepts, right? And so if you have a short path to a full stack job in a stack that you know if you learn this, somebody's got a job for you, that's probably, like, I don't know. To me, there's sort of this this hierarchy of needs. Like we could if there's Maslow's hierarchy of needs for being alive, which is like, food and shelter, and you go up the hierarchy until like the end is self-actualization. I would say that like professionally, there is a similar hierarchy of needs, and I'm not the first one to say this, but we'll figure out who said it first and name it their hierarchy of professional needs. But the baseline is you have to be able to survive, right? Like you need to have income so that you can continue doing things in your life, right? You got to be like, you can't afford your Maslow's hierarchy of needs if you don't have income. So thing one is, when you are learning a skill, if you don't have steady income, learn whatever's going to get you to those dollars as fast as possible. And then beyond that, there is the like, I enjoy this kind of category, or like the most professionally valuable category, where actually, let's say that one. You know what? Why don't we draw this? Because then I can actually remember what I said. And since we're going to do this anyways, I'm just going to start a little recording. Okay, have like 9 million things that I have to start recordings on now. Let me head over to Twitch for a hot second. Dashboard, Twitch. And then I just want to push that button. Okay, so we've got, how do I do a split? There we go. That's what I really want, is that split. Okay. So if I head over then to Eraser, I was already in. This is it. Okay, so I'm going to make a new one. And so like, if we start with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? This is where we start. So is there like a full list here? Here we go. So if I come back over, we can start with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We've got physiological, safety, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization, right? And so if we look at these, then you've kind of got like, you have to be able to be alive. You want to be safe from external threats. Then you want to have a group around you. You want that group to respect you, and then you want to respect yourself. That's sort of the speed run of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So then if we start thinking about that from a professional standpoint, if I hold, does it like autocorrect into a shape? Probably not, right? What if I do, I don't know how to do like an arbitrary shape. So I guess I'm just gonna draw one like this. And like this. And like this. Okay, so then at the very bottom here is just like income. Like you need, in order to function, you need to have a job. Because if you don't have a job, you won't have the ability to even like think about anything else. You're going to be in full panic mode all the time because you don't have that income coming in. And so trying to think about how to like make more revenue, or like how to pick the perfect thing or get the stack exactly right, it's just not going to do what you want it to do, right? So then after that, you want to figure out, like after you've got income, then you want to look at like growth of potential is what I would say, right? Is then you start looking at not just like, do I have a job, but do I have a job that's got a future, right? Like, so if you go into, say, I don't know, action script development because you found a company that will pay you to maintain action script, that's great. You got a job, but there's no growth potential. Like action script is dead. There's no more action script work out there. And then you, like, once you get through there, then you want to start looking at like enjoyment and whether or not you're actually having fun. Whether or not you're actually having fun with that code, right? And you know, this to me is sort of, I guess these are really the only three that I got, because I found that, like, for me at least, I think, well, actually, no, hold on. I'm doing this. I'm getting ahead of myself here because there's a whole other thing that I want to include. Because like this is one type of hierarchy of needs. This would be like the personal value hierarchy of needs. And then there's actually like the skill growth hierarchy of needs. And so if we do another one of these, and I'm just going to do the text because I'm taking way too long drawing triangles. But if we start at the other one, there's employment, right? Like I'm employable. And then there's like flexible is probably, or let's say employable. Like a junior is employable. They might not be able to do everything on their own, but you can give them a job. They can get some stuff done with guidance, whatever. Capable then becomes like, in this one thing, I can do just about anything you throw at me. Okay, great. You're now capable in that thing. The next thing is you want to be flexible or adaptable. And this would be like, not just I'm an expert in the one thing that I'm an expert in, but I now have a broader understanding of how this stuff works, and I can start to apply that to other problem spaces, right? So I would say this is sort of like if you are an expert in, I don't know, JavaScript, and you're an expert in React, right? So you get hired, it's a React job. You are employable as a React engineer. You're 1 or 2 years in. You still need a senior, someone to teach you on your team, like keep you on track and get you unstuck. But you've got a job, you're working. Then you move to the capable phase. You are now a capable React engineer. You can do just about anything in React that someone would throw at you, right? Maybe you're not like an expert, but you are definitely 80-20. You can do anything that somebody throws at you. Flexible adaptable would be like, okay, so now the problem space is going to move you outside of React. how hard is it for you to step outside of React and into broader JavaScript or into Node.js, or if you've got to use Angular or Svelte or Vue or something like that? Can you adapt? Like, how comfortable are you moving into the space? And then I would say the last one is are you scalable, but not in the sense of like, can you do more work, but in the sense of like, can you make the people around you more effective? And I would say that your goal as an engineer should be trying to move in this direction. Because if you're able to do that, like when you get to this point, this is when you become a team lead. When you get the growth track sort of splits, you can become an engineering manager if you want to coach people. You can become a team lead or a principal engineer if you want to be an IC. But in both cases, you're building a skill set that means that you're not just like here you are a pair of hands to do work. Here you are like a very good purpose-built machine. Here you're kind of a Swiss Army knife, and here you're a force multiplier. And I think this is where the like unlimited revenue potential comes in. Like if your income, you hear about people who are working in these jobs where their total comp is like 300,000 to, in some ridiculous cases, like $1 million plus if you go work at one of the FANG companies. And it's because like these are the engineers that do that. They're the engineers that make every engineer around them more capable. They are not only good at like understanding systems, but also good at breaking them down for other people and making sure that like the system isn't just, oh, well, this person built this and they understand it, but nobody else can work in there. So we just kind of got to let them do their thing. People can get into these roles where they get paid like they're scalable when they can do work like that. But that also makes them indispensable. And then they end up with the golden handcuffs, or they end up leaving and completely screwing their team because this team has to effectively start from scratch because whatever they built wasn't scalable. It didn't expand beyond that own person's scope of control. And so from my standpoint, like, start by meeting this. Make sure you get a job. Doesn't matter what it is. Learn whatever you got to learn to get that first job, because income is going to unlock the time. Like, you can't be panicked all the time and expect to be learning and growing, right? So get the income so that you don't have to panic. Once you're not panicking, start thinking about growth potential and think about which areas have the most potential for growth. And I would say, like, think about this growth potential. Don't just do like a spreadsheet and say the highest paying job is in Fortran or whatever it is, right? That's not growth potential. Like, you also have to think about what can you sustainably do for years and years and years and enjoy, right? And probably the difference in max income is going to be small percentages when you start getting into a lot of these languages, like how much you can make as a principal JavaScript engineer versus how much you can make as a principal PHP engineer versus how much you can make as a Java engineer. I would say the outliers notwithstanding, like dude in his Lambo, on average, you're probably going to be able to make mostly the same money. Like in the mid six figures is absolutely achievable with any one of those programming languages. So also be thinking about this enjoyment, because really, like, one of the best things that you can get to is something that is sustainable for you. And it's going to be so much more sustainable if you enjoy it. And if you enjoy it, that's going to speed up this curve where you go from merely employable to like team scalable, because you're going to be having fun. You're going to want to learn. And I would say that part of this too is like this piece here. This is where, like, when people argue learn the fundamentals, this is what they're arguing for. At least this is what I'm arguing for. When I say learn the fundamentals, I'm not saying you need to learn these or else you're not going to be a good engineer. I'm saying if you only learn the abstraction, you get stuck here. If you go beneath the abstraction, if you understand if you understand the foundation that makes this piece work, then you become flexible and adaptable, because you start to understand the principles that make the machine go. You don't just have the machine's buttons memorized. You understand why the machine works. And then you can make the machine do different things. You can customize it. You can work around the machine. You can build your own machine. All of those things come from understanding the fundamentals. And when you start understanding the fundamentals and then understand how to work with a group, that's when you really become scalable. And so I would say this is technical capability. This is deep technical understanding, and this is organizational understanding. And like when you combine deep technical understanding with deep organizational understanding, that's when you create really big impacts in a company. How about a video? What up? Oh, Leon, what's up, man? See all sorts of folks in here. We got Leon, we got Henri, we've got Juiced. Non-competitive aspect of the video. I'm so glad, because like I just want this stuff to be fun, man. Like I think that we spend too much time worrying about whether we've made the best choice, or whether we're using the most effective thing, or I don't know, whether we're in the most lucrative club or whatever it is. But honestly, like so much of this stuff is it's like minor gains at that level, and the real benefit is like the broader community aspect of it. Like if we're thinking in terms of our broadening impact and like scalability, like I was just talking about, like, I don't know, man, there was this whole discussion that went around. I'm not going to name any names because it's not fun, but people were talking about networks and how important it is to have a network. And somebody fairly prominent was saying, like, I have a huge network, but I'm having a really hard time getting a job. And I'm aware of that person's past, and like their huge network is largely built on them being fairly difficult. Like they had really aggressive disagreements on things that ultimately, I don't think they were like nitpicky things, right? Like and that competitive nature, like I have to be the smartest person in the room, can really hurt at the later stages of your career, because if your prominence is built on hot takes and you know, attacking other people's ideas, and people learn that about you, and they go, I don't really want him in the company. If we hire him, he's just going to fight everybody all the time. That doesn't sound fun. And so I think that like steering more into the fun and the exploration and the curiosity, and like how much you can learn and collaborate and teach, like to me, that's the kind of growth I want personally. And I think that it's definitely slower in terms of like raw growth numbers. And it's slower in terms of you know, the amount of time you put in. Like people like drama. But the problem with drama is that we typically like drama because we like to see people be terrible. If you're the person causing the drama, like we all love watching the public train wrecks, but we're probably not wanting to like hang out with those train wrecks. You know what I mean? So anyways, I think this series was me trying to find a way to hopefully do something that's fun to watch, that people want to share, but that isn't built on, you know, drama and dunks and so on and so forth. Does it have aprons? No, it doesn't have aprons. It should have aprons, though. That would be fun. Where are we at right now? Let me come back here. So yeah, that is a reference, Henri, to a big dinner that I cooked with Joel Hooks that was so much fun. We dressed up like Carmi from The Bear. We both had our white shirts and our. Actually, why don't I just show this, because otherwise here. We'll come over here and we'll go to, where did I post this? Instagram. Why not? So Joel and I dressed up like Carmi and prepared a big meal. We did 3 courses. There were like 3 dishes in the first course, 5 dishes in the second course, and then we did a dessert that was like a banana bread pudding from scratch. So Joel made a vanilla pudding from scratch. I made banana bread from scratch, and then the only thing that wasn't from scratch is we put some Nilla wafers in there because right, got to have vanilla wafer. But it was great. Like this is the turkey that we were cooking. We got a whole bunch of different like veggies and stuff out there. This fridge is huge, and it was completely jam packed with food. This was amazing. I don't exactly know when it's going to happen, but my wife and I just remodeled our kitchen, and we're starting a food channel. So we're actually going to do a cooking channel on YouTube. It's going to be separate from Learn with Jason. No tech content whatsoever. It's just going to be me and her cooking. And I am very, very, very excited for that. I will make way more noise about it when it's real. But, in the meantime, just know it's coming because I've wanted to do it forever. Blackthorn Prod does these game dev collabs on the regular. Let's look at... I'm going to look at this. Blackthorn Prod. How does this work? Somebody was telling me about this. Okay, this I love. This is such a good idea, and I do actually want to borrow this idea in web dev. So the concept here is that instead of it being like 4 devs building 4 separate apps, it's however many devs, and they build the game in a chain. So like one dev does one step and then hands it off, and then the next dev has to pick that up and do the next step. And so the game will completely shift from the beginning to the end in a really interesting ways. I love this idea. I think it's so much fun. There's another version of this that I saw, I think at... where was this? Maybe at South by Southwest, like 12 years ago, 13 years ago, where they called it, it had a very specific name, but it was like Figma tennis is what I think you would call it today. Layer tennis, that's what it was. So you would get a Photoshop file, and the first designer would be able to add like, they'd be able to work on it for some set amount of time, and then they had to hand it off to the next developer or to the next designer who would create a new layer and then add more to it and then send it back, and they'd go back and forth like a game of ping pong. It was so freaking fun to watch, and it was very like kind of chaotic, and like if the designers were friends, they would mess with each other. Like they would like take the design that they knew was trying to go one direction, and they would intentionally move it a different direction to send it back and watch the other designer go, what are you doing? Come on. Like it was so fun. It was so goofy. I thought it was a really great idea and something that I would love to bring in. And I love this idea of like building a game in succession with multiple devs, like just a really, really fun setup, I think. Let's see. Which existential issues do you mean? Like the existential issues of building a good career, or something else? Which one, Henri? What do we got? So I feel like you and I are just doing a million ideas all the time. I don't know. Do y'all follow Henri? If you don't follow Henri Helvetica, you should, because it is a good time. Henri is like one of my favorite like big ideas people. He's always doing something cool. V-Dog, what's up? How you doing? Okay, so I built a thing. I've been working on it for a little bit now, but I actually shipped it late last night, and I think it's cool, but it's also got a bug. So let me send this over. Did Scott and West do that at an event? I don't know, but I mean, I would love to see. I imagine that it's definitely been done, because this is something that I've seen in several places. I've seen that sort of thing that I think is really, really fun. But yeah, I think it would be incredible. Thank you, Leon. I really appreciate that. But yeah, so my goal with this page is I talk about the stuff that I'm building on like Twitter or on a call or whatever, and then somebody will say, okay, how do I find out more? And I'm like, email me, I guess. Like I don't have a place to send anybody. So I wanted to build this page as a way to say, all right, this is what I do, right? And you can come and work with me. And this is sort of like the official starting process. And it means that somebody doesn't need to actually meet me to learn about what I do. I'm going to link to this page from the Learn with Jason site, and I'll put it up on my link tree and stuff like that. But I just wanted something kind of like as simple as I could. But here's kind of how it works is I wanted to go through my ideas. So first and foremost, just doing the standard thing that you do, you establish the value prop and you have a call to action and you show some social proof, like the kind of standard landing page stuff. Then moving down here, I wanted a little bit of fun. So you can see that on this left side here, it's got scroll driven animations that bring these elements in. They're kind of faded out and then they slide up and fade in. That is turned off if you have prefers reduce motion, because accessibility matters. And then this other thing that originally what I had done is I'd kept all the information over here. And then when you clicked, this button was like watch a demo, and it would pop up a modal that showed you a video. And I got feedback from the Discord. Thank you, Charlie and Yannick, for giving feedback. And they were like, why make me open a modal? Why not just make the video visible? And I was like, okay, that's fun, but I don't want to lose these because these are also fun. And I like the sense of place that you get from a site like this, right? Where it's not just like, here's a dump of information. It's a little bit of me saying like, here's the vibe, right? So then I wanted to do this thing, and then these felt too busy on top of this. So I was like, well, what if I use a CSS scroll driven animation to turn the lights down? And you see how that happens? Like as you scroll up, it turns down the lights so that you can actually read. But you still have just a hint of it. It's still over there. It might not be visible on the screen share, but it looks great on my screen. And then as you scroll down, you get through here. I'm using this is sticky over here so that when you come down, then you move to the next one and it sticks. And then you keep going. Next one, it sticks. And so on and so forth until you get to the bottom. And then you've got this call to action to book a call, right? So this is really fun to build. I'm happy with it. I'm proud of it, but something's going on with Safari, or at least, with mobile iOS browsers. And let's see, Connor has an idea for what might have gone wrong. Let's see. Can I just get to... All right, I'm going to do something risky and just open my Twitter in front of everyone. Where is this? You can replicate it with DevTools by removing the following property. So let's see here what's going on. So the issue is that these images are blowing out the layout. And so I have a suspicion. I think what I can do is actually, if I come in here, I run this site inside of an NX monorepo so that I have like all of my sites in one folder, and then I've got like partners, the Learn with Jason site, my scenes that I don't really use anymore, and a few other things, all in the same place, so that I can share like a design system and other things without having to publish a bunch of private packages or having a private registry or any of those things that are both difficult and expensive and time consuming. So got it here. And the way that this works right now is I have, let's see, let's look at, so here's the index page. We've got the set of basic stuff here. We're using Astro content collections for the service panels. We are just a straight JSON list for partners. I could turn that into a content collection if I wanted, and just return it as a JSON type. I figured since this is a single page site right now, just put it all in line. It's fine. I've got a layout, which we'll end up looking at in a second. And then I've got this service panel. And then down here, we've got the hero. So I tried to stick with as much semantic markup as I could. The hero here has, where am I? I'm like out of frame. I should like sit in the middle of my camera. So the hero is, you know, an H1. I did some goofy stuff that made me need to do a span on it. It doesn't matter. And then you've got the intro here. So this is kind of like the actual chunk of stuff happening. And then we loop over the partners. Great. That all does what I want. Okay. So let's collapse the hero. Then for each service, we map over it and drop in a service panel. And then we've got this contact section, which is all kind of the same as the intro, just, you know, centered stuff and all those good things. Style-wise, we are doing a few things. We've got scroll behavior smooth so that if you actually click one of these things, let's go over here. If you click this, it'll scroll you down instead of like popping you down. I used to have scroll snapping in place because I like it on a site like this, but feedback was unanimously don't do that. So I took it out. And then let's see, we got a couple other things like we're making the sections max height, and if they're shorter than max height, at least 650 so that it doesn't squish together any of the buttons and stuff. Max height I have set to 1100. I don't know why I did that. Oh, I think because if you have like a ridiculously large monitor, I didn't want this to end up being like the thing that scrolled forever. Then the hero is doing some fun stuff. This was actually like, this is a fairly complex gradient. So I pulled in, I'll have to go look at the layout to show this, but this is like a radial gradient that gives you the vignette effect. So it's like darker around the corners and kind of fading in toward the middle. And then I did a linear gradient of these really bright colors. And then I have the vignette gradient multiply on top of it. And the end result is that, let's see, it has to be on the smaller screens because I put this big image in here otherwise. The end result is that you get this kind of like, there's sort of this cloudiness here and it gets a little darker at the edges and it's just much more visually interesting to me than a flat color or a single gradient or something like that. So stacked gradients I think is a fun way to add a lot of character to a panel even if you don't have images. So then as you scroll down, you know, also, yeah, mobile version, you have none of the scrolly stuff except for these little animations here. And we just inlined everything so that people can read it. And this is where our issue is that for some reason on smaller viewports in Safari, this here isn't working and we're getting this big blowout. So my suspicion is maybe I was wrong and this doesn't work on mobile iOS. That would be partial support. Does not allow nesting of type element selectors without starting. Okay, that's fine. That's all of them. Why? Okay, so what would be different here? Why wouldn't those ones get picked up? I mean, even if they're on 16, I guess if they're on like 16.4, but that the whole site would be jacked if that was the case because I use CSS nesting everywhere on that site. So I think though we can fix this really easily because I have instead of this one, which I believe is in the services panel. Let's go to just the image tag. Oops. Let's go here and then let's go to image. Right. So I set this up as a global, but check this out because I think what I can do instead is I can take this one out and this should cause the problem that we were having. Right. So now if I refresh, Got to be on the local version for this to work. Okay, so there's our blowout. That's doing what everybody else is getting. And so I think what I can do then is I can go to my layout, and I've got global styles in here. And I think what I can do is just kind of add a little general rule for images, because, I mean, you don't really ever want an image to be bigger than 100% anyways. So if I do that, that fixes it. And that should remove the nesting and everything. It should just be plain old global CSS. So why don't we ship that? And what else changed here? Got the image, and then we removed that image. Okay, good. Let's see, width. Image width on mobile Safari. So that should, theoretically speaking, solve this problem. So let's come out here, and we're going to open up the Netlify app, wait for this to build. Should be pretty quick here. I think this one takes about 30 seconds to build. There we go. All things party corgi. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I can't not put like multicolored gradients on things now. I think Party Corgi broke me. In the TV with a mask would actually be really fun. The problem with those is that they work in a really fun way for like exactly one use case, and then as soon as you need to move it somewhere else, it's so unflexible is the problem that I have. All right, so it still looks right on my phone. Anybody who wants to check, hit this site on your phone, partners.learnwithjason.dev, 16.3. Okay, so if it's on 16.3, it might just be like busted. And that I think could definitely be some of the issue. Was the reproduction in the desktop version of Safari? I think it was only in iPhones. Is as far as I've seen, all of the screenshots that were shared with me were from iPhones. Let's see if anybody has said anything. So this is, yeah, mobile Safari iOS. iOS, clicked from the Twitter app. Got some web perf feedback. Oh yeah, I also checked this out. This was a cool piece. So I set it up where in the service panel, we've got, if you have one set, if I set a highlighted video, I embed that video with this YouTube component, but look at this YouTube component. It is a web component. So this is something that Paul Irish built, I don't know, years ago. And so here's the problem I had. First, I decided I was going to go easy, and I embedded just the standard YouTube embed on the page. But because I have 5 sections and 4 of them had example videos, I was doing 4 YouTube embeds on the page. And then when when everything I published, I was so happy. I went to run a little performance audit on it, and YouTube embeds are not aware that there are other YouTube embeds. So they download the same stuff over and over and over again. And I had something like 7.5 megabytes of JavaScript on the page. It wasn't quite that high. It was a lot though. It was like 4 megabytes of JavaScript because YouTube was duplicating downloads. So then I thought to myself, okay, I'll do it this other way. And I will use the YouTube iframe API. And that worked for my modal approach when I was using the dialogue element. But nobody liked the dialogue element, so I rewrote, put them in the embed. And then I had this issue where like the way the YouTube API for iframes works is you have to like define a global function and it finds something by ID and then turns that into a YouTube player, which only works for one YouTube player. So then I was looking at it like, okay, am I going to try to like write some custom intersection observer stuff so that whenever the right view, the player comes in, I'm going to like unmount the other one and remount this one and do a whole, I was like, this is terrible. I don't want to do this. Like maybe I should just link to YouTube and not worry about this at all. And then I found this piece by Paul Irish. And so what this one does is it like optimizes for fast page loading by showing like a thumbnail. And then when you click it, it kind of hydrates into the YouTube embed experience. Theoretically, it will only download the script once. In practice, who's to say? But it's better than what I was doing because now if you look at the performance, let's go to the network tab here. This feels very small. Can anybody read this? Because I can't read this. All right, so go to this network tab. We've got the cache disabled. We're going to go to all, and we load. Okay, so it still sends more than I want, but if we look at what is actually sending, it's a lot of images, and these are like big images. And yes, I could do a lot to make these better. I don't know. We've also got like these are the uncompressed, unoptimized YouTube thumbnails. I might be able to fix that. I'm not sure that I care to. It's fine. Should probably set all these to be like loading lazy or something. I don't know how you lazy load a CSS image. Can you lazy load a CSS image? iPhone 15 Pro is fine. Good. Looks good for Nate. Yeah, we got web components. iPhone 12 looks good. Okay, good deal. I know. I was so excited to see something from Paul. I mentioned him on Twitter, and he liked the tweet, and I was like, man, Paul's still around. That's so cool because I just haven't heard from him in a while. I once played Flip Cup with Paul Irish years and years and years ago. That was the first time I met him. As I was close by when they needed a Flip Cup partner, and so I played Flip Cup with Paul Irish. I lost. He made fun of me. In a nice way, like he wasn't being mean. Let's see, what else do we got? Yeah, YouTube iframes are not good for performance. It's rough. Chrome on Android, good. Some jank where the header CTA buttons and more examples link animate, but their text blocks and example videos are still. Oh, you know what I think that is? I think that is due to the fact that so I feel like that's the nesting thing again. Don't know. You saw him 2 weeks ago. Henry, you're always doing cooler stuff than me. Okay, so basically, but then the other thing that I wanted to look at on this was like how does this do when you actually run it through? I know Lighthouse is not the end all be all of performance. Actually, we should run this through Webpage test and see what comes up. Okay, so Lighthouse is happy. And all these best practices, this is stuff that makes me want to fight YouTube because it's a bunch of stuff that, wait, what is this? Security policy. Oh, so Cloudinary doesn't have the, what? Is this the cookie thing? The cookie thing, third-party cookies. CSP thing, no CSP found, good. So the whole issue is just third-party cookies from Cloudinary? Okay, fine. I can live with that. So let's go to Webpage test and let's see. So we're going to run. What do we want to use? I feel like site performance includes the core web vitals, right? I don't want to configure all that. Mobile, repeat view, lighthouse audit, carbon control. Interesting. Okay, let's try that. We're going to run it on 4G. What's Luro? All right, while we're waiting for that, I'm going to look at Luro. Build and design. Build and track your design system. Oh, cool. Have I used this? I like the gradient glow is cool. This gives me an idea. I want these. You can animate gradients now. I want these to like shift with the section. So instead of being red, like here, make it red and then like shift it to blue or something. That would be so cool. Yeah. Okay. It's cool, cool, cool. Feel like you're at former work. Yes. Let's see, get over here, do this one, test started. We're still testing. Oh, this is Luro is Dave Rupert stuff. Very cool. Yeah. And very new. Okay. I should talk to Dave. Dave and Trent. Nice. That's a good time. That's good for him. It's a cool site. I like it. All right. Show me your thing. Oh, it's doing 3 runs. That's probably why it's so slow. Here we go. All right. Is it quick? Not bad. Aren't these all good numbers? Why don't you tell me I'm good? Give me positive feedback. No render blocking third-party requests. No security issues. 87% better than average on Carbon. Hell yeah. Minor layout shifts. Yeah, that's fine. Took little time to become interactive. What HTML gets generated after delivery? Probably the web component would be my guess. Let's look at... What is this? I'm very interested in this. 3 of 3 green hosted. Yes. 404 grams of CO2 per mile. Oh, man. When you start thinking about it like this, like every time somebody loads your website, you're creating... I do want to lazy load, but I don't know that I want to lazy load enough to write or to find a like markdown extension, because that's where those images are coming in from. I don't think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to take my win and just be done. All right, Web Vitals, what do you say? I feel happy. I feel good about this. Like I'm happy with this site. We're doing the things that I feel like should be done with a website. It's nice and snappy. It does what I want. Any other pieces? Like what else? Detected technologies. What do you think I'm using? This is slick. Wait, what? How do you figure this out? I am using Open Graph. Although, you know what's bugging me? Is I put this together. This has sharing images. Like, it's all there. Why isn't it showing up on Twitter? Like, come on, y'all. I specifically added the Twitter stuff so that you would show my stuff on Twitter, and it bums me out. Anyways, let's see. There was some performance feedback, so let's see. Preloads for the web fonts, preload for the hero image, lazy load images below the fold. I would like to do that. I probably don't want to fight Astro. I'm just going to let that be. I don't even know what that means. Oh, this is a Netlify thing. So Netlify always sets it like that because then it can do instant revalidation, but it's still serving like cached assets despite showing like it's not cached. There's a whole thing. Netlify, like, they know more about caching than I do, and so I just don't argue with them, is sort of where I've landed on the caching discussion. Like, I don't want to manage my own caching headers. It's actually one of the things that I find most concerning about some of the new push in web dev is this like drive to get everybody to write cache control headers again. It's like, phew, boy, we have definitely done that to death. I've made a lot of money helping teams figure out how to unbreak their caching because they tried to write their own cache control. We shouldn't bring that back. Like, I promise it's almost never worth it. Anyways, yeah, all right. I'm feeling good. Feeling really good. So, okay. So we've got this page. This page it should now be fixed on most browsers. I'm going to check on mine real quick just to make double sure. Let's get on Safari. Yeah, I'm going to reload just to make sure. Yeah, it looks right on my phone. This is mobile Safari. So it's doing what I would expect it to do. I think maybe older browsers might still be having issues because I did use stuff like CSS nesting that only goes back to iOS 16.4. But you know, I don't care. I'm sorry, I don't care if your browser is old. I feel for you, but I don't care enough to fix a page like this. If I don't know, if this was like a consumer facing site where lots and lots and lots of people needed to use it, I would probably care a lot more. But since this is like the site that I'm sending to people who are, you know, typically in leadership positions at tech companies, I'm just going to make the assumption that they all bought the new iPhone. So, you know, Arc, I am on Arc. I use the Arc browser on iPhone usually. I was just checking it on Safari because I was curious. It looked great on Arc when I checked it yesterday. Still looks great on Arc today. Let me reload just in case. Yeah, look at those beautiful tweet screenshots doing exactly what they're supposed to do and not blowing out my screen. Okay, so good. That did. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that sucks about iOS still is the lack of support for any other browsers. And I heard that that's changing. Is that true? iOS browser engine. New iPhone browsers on their way to WebKit. Let's see. This is from February 7th. When okay, but how do we know? I don't really understand. Okay, so rumors say, I don't see any like actual references here. Just kind of seems like planning for the day when I don't know. Well, I know that they won't, but when? Like, do they have is there a when this happens? I don't know. I don't know when this happens. Yeah, soon. That's kind of what I'm vibing. What's up, Dave? We were just talking about Luro, and I was saying that I really like the site. I like the glowy bits. I was saying I had this like vision in my head that each section would have a different glowy color, and that like as you move down, these would like animate to, you know, from the reddish to like a bluish to orangish or whatever, and you would just kind of have this like color pulse as you go down the page. But don't listen to me. I'm over tweaking. That sounds like a better use of everyone's time. What? How do you? Did it work? Like, can you? Okay, hold on. If you, because there's energy in a slap, so you're transferring energy from kinetic energy into the impact. So theoretically, I can see how they got here. Theoretically, you could cook a chicken just by beating the crap out of it. Did it work? Can you cook a chicken by slapping it? It would take 23,000. That is very funny. Where is this? What you were watching? This is funny. I'm not going to watch this on stream because I don't know how long it is, but I am going to post a link of it, and I'm going to watch this later, 100%. What is the state of the chicken prior? Okay, maybe we do need to watch a minute of this. Hold on. All right, let me change up my share so that we actually get, let's see, we're going to move this one, and then we're going to change the share. Stop screen. We're going to go to the tab here. Now we get audio. I'm going to put my headphones on so that I can listen to this chicken being slapped. And we're going to see, how long is this video?
Welcome to science! A couple years back, someone on Reddit asked a question. Assuming kinetic energy is converted into heat, how hard do you have to slap a chicken to cook it? And with a little questionable math, Reddit came up with an answer. You'd have to slap the chicken at approximately 3,825 miles per hour, or just less than Mach 5. That's a little bit impractical, and so through the transformative power of the internet, the question slowly morphed into how many human-powered slaps would it take to cook a chicken, where the most commonly cited answer is about 23,000. This is the perfect setup for a YouTube challenge video, and so dozens have tried their hand and failed to cook a chicken using only slaps, with some going so far as to say it is completely impossible to do so. But to me, this seemed inconclusive. Somebody needed to get to the bottom of this once and for all, and it seemed like that someone was gonna be me. Since people are imperfect, I'd need a proper rig to test this scientifically. This math doesn't even factor in cooling from the environment. If we were gonna even warm this chicken up, let alone cook it, we were gonna need to be slapping way faster and more consistently than your average human could.
This thing appears to be functional. Let's see if it actually works.
All right. After completing the rig, I measured some chickens at my local supermarket and then built an enclosure that would keep the chicken contained during testing. That makes it sound like I'm using live chicken. It was time for a real test, and rather than witness this groundbreaking scientific research alone, I decided to live stream it.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to introduce you all to what I've affectionately named the Meat Beater 9000. And we're gonna start it at the lowest speed. Yes!
Oh, that's not working.
It's going up! No! No!
The hand I spent so much time creating instantly broke off, and I had to act fast in order to save the stream.
Can I get a pog in the chat? Ambient temperature is 72. The chicken is currently a crisp 66 degrees. Delicious.
The slapper started out at about 5 slaps per second, and slowly over time we would increase it as the temperature began to plateau at each level.
Time to turn it up.
This is incredible.
73. Holy wait, it's 75. It's at 75 degrees.
It wasn't a fast process, but slowly and surely the temperature began to rise.
Oh my god! 77!
Whew. 7 slaps per second.
No!
Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead here.
No! Oh my god!
The motor was going to have to be completely replaced for the next version. We couldn't complete the test, but it was still clear from what we did see that the chicken doesn't radiate enough heat to make this insulation solution very effective, which is just as well, because it also looks like absolute dog shit.
Heated it. It's currently at about 88 degrees. So we're starting with the hairdryer. Start slow. Take it from there.
Okay.
I think we need to increase the speed. Let's give her hell. All right, now we're in the chicken cooking business, boys. Let's go. It's not falling apart at all yet, which is a good sign. I'm just gonna keep cranking the speed because that's what it needs. That's the only way to heat it up more. How's the motor heat? Motor is ice cold. Yes, baby.
This is astonishing. I gotta stop because I think at some point there's a certain amount of video that you can watch where YouTube will just like take your video down as being too much video. So I'm gonna stop watching this, but this is incredible, and I want to watch that whole video many times over. What a ridiculous thing. How many slaps needed to toast my bread? Do you think it probably can't do toast, right? Because toast is not internal heat. Toast is like external heat. So you would have to like clap above the bread. Like, oh boy. Yeah, I don't know. That is, needs better lighter materials. I mean, this just became, I think it probably just became paste. The really weird thing about that though is that like it really does in a weird way make sense. That's a lot. You have the problem that between slaps the chicken is cooling down. That's also true. Oh boy, yeah, a lot. Use hand rubbing to just like butter in one hand and sandpaper in the other, trying to get some friction, flavor. Okay. What are we talking about? Were we talking about something before we went on this chicken slapping rabbit hole? The chicken slapper devices in CIA. Yes. Yep, this is it. This was it. That's the whole stream. Okay. All All right. What else? What else? Do I actually have something to do today? What are we even trying to do here? What's happening? 7 slaps per second. Right now. It's just slowly. Okay. So this is something would it cook a human face? And I think the answer is no. If they were alive. Bear with me. That sounded more. Actually, it's not going to get better. It's just not what you think I'm about to say. So sous vide cooking is taking something and placing it in a water bath at the eventual like doneness temperature that you want the thing to be at, right? And those doneness temperatures are all below boiling. So why don't people get sous vide when they get into hot tubs? And I think I know the reason. Should we get on Quora and see what some rando thinks from their desk chair? But so like if you Marissa she just came around the side of my camera. She's very disappointed that I brought this up. But no, for real, like if you have like, oh, she's telling me this. There's science. She says it's because your body regulates the temperature. But it's still like, okay. So different question. If you were slightly grosser than I am, could you get into a hot tub with a steak in a plastic bag and have a relax while prepping dinner?
Yes.
Marissa just yelled yes from across the studio. She's very mad that I'm talking about science and not like looking at the science. I'm uncomfortable. This is it. This is what we're here for. Just had to update the banner. Taking steaks into the bathtub is just how they do it in Scandinavia. No, because that's a dry sauna. That's a whole different thing. So easy to get sidetracked. Last time I did a dev stream, chat convinced me to start beef between 2 business discords. Okay. Let's do something. Let me stop the screen. I'll pull up the whole screen again. And I want to, there's stuff I got to do. What am I? Oh, there it is. Hot tubs are only 100 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, so not really hot enough to cook you. Fair. How hot can a hot tub be before you can't be in it? Hot can a hot tub be? Marissa just heavy sighed over there. $104 is the standard max. Can I make my hot tub hotter than 104? What? What do you mean am I asking bad questions? Do you want to take over? Come over here.
It's different if the hot tub can kill you versus cook you. If you put it in something not alive in warm water for a long time, it will eventually cook.
Come around and just tell the chat what you're saying.
Say that.
I wasn't even listening. I was just being. I'm doing important science over here.
It's not science. It's wrong.
It's not science. It's wrong. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Any more ideas for dev shows? I do have more ideas for dev shows. So I've been kicking around ideas for 3 years now, and I have so many. Like, so here's the thing. Like, if we look at what we watch, and each of us is going to have a different answer to this, but like, look at the content that you watch, and most of us have probably picked a few shows that we like the vibe of. Like, if you want, I don't know, if you liked Survivor, maybe you like Man vs. Wild, maybe you like Alone, and it's this sort of like, you know, the vibe is it's you take a person, you put them out in the woods, there's a couple little twists in the rules, but ultimately it's about seeing whether somebody can overcome nature, right? If you take a reality show like Real World or Road Rules or Big Brother or any of those, it's this idea of like, if you take a group of people and you put them in a location, what happens as they start to get to know each other and get on each other's nerves and get sick of each other. If you take a show like The Great British Bake Off or Making It or what's it called? The Great Pottery Throwdown or any of those types of shows. It's this sort of like, what if we take a group of people and we put together like a home, what's the word I'm looking for? Like homey, like low key, like not like competitive, but non-competitive game show. Like not even game show, just like a competition, right? Friendly competition. Then they've got the unfriendly competitions, the like, you know, the brutal reality competition shows where people are real cutthroat and they're like undermining each other and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is that like most of these shows share formats, and they're fun to watch because the format is inherently interesting. So I would love to take a web dev spin on a ton of shows. Like I am, like, knock on wood for me, friends, because I'm so close. I'm so close. It is almost here to making a pilot of the Great British Bake Off for web devs. I want it so bad. I've been trying to make this since 2019. It's like the perfect thing. It's exactly what it should be. And anyway, okay, sorry. I'm very excited about this one because it to me is exactly what I want a show to be. It's friendly, people are supporting each other. There's a competition and like there are challenges and like people are going to struggle and stuff, but like you're pulling for those people. They're not sabotaging each other. There's not like jerks on the show. There's nobody who's like a professional provocateur as like one of the cast members. It's stuff like that, right? Like I think it's so fun to see that format, and web dev lends itself really well. And the way I want to do it is I want to do it with teams. So coding in and of itself is not an inherently interesting thing to watch somebody do. It's not like watching woodworking or pottery or baking where there's a lot to do with your hands. It's mostly just somebody kind of sitting and staring at a screen. So the collaboration aspect is what's really going to make this interesting. So what I would like to do is work with teams where one person is kind of a creative technologist, like kind of on the design front end part of the gradient. And then somebody who's more of a like back of the front who is, maybe like can stand up a next site or deal with the APIs and databases and all those sorts of things, and then have them work together to make something where we'll take advantage of both of their skill sets. It's going to be like, it'll be fun. It's going to happen. I got to get a company that's ready to, that understands the value of this stuff and wants to invest. And if you think about this, okay, so let's put business hats on for a second, because from a pure entertainment standpoint, I've wanted that show from the first instant that it entered my mind that it was possible. It's not my idea. I don't think an idea like that is anybody's idea. I imagine that a million people have said, I wish I could watch a Great British Bake Off for devs. But as soon as I became aware that that was a thing that could exist, I've wanted it to exist. And I think I might be one of the people in this industry who's got the means and the connections to actually make it happen. So I'm working on it. It's like a top priority for me. So let's talk business hats. So not just entertainment value, but business value. What do companies want developers to do? Developers, like, we are constantly inundated with with invites to visit a company at their booth, to go watch somebody give a talk that's demonstrating their tool on stage, to join a webinar, to watch an intro video where they go through the capabilities of the tool. And we just don't do it, right? Like, unless I have a very specific problem and somebody that I know tells me that this tool solves my very specific problem, I'm probably not like watching somebody's webinar for fun. It's just not going to happen, right? But I would absolutely watch the Great British Bake Off. And if a company sponsored it, and let's say, maybe each episode we adopt like a little bit of a secret ingredient mode where a company can be the episode sponsor, and we're going to build using their thing. So if we, we're going to do some animation. So we talk to Rive, we talk to GSAP, we talk to whoever, and they're going to be the sponsor. And that's the thing that has to be included in your challenge, is you have to do an animation using that tool. Now, all these teams of developers are using this tool in various builds, and developers are watching it for fun, and they're going to see a demo of how it works, what the developers can build with it, how well they pick it up despite never having used it before, what the end results are. Like, all of these incredible things that is your goal of getting somebody to watch a demo, getting them to come to your conference booth, getting them to join a webinar, getting them to watch the video on your homepage. But now all these devs, and potentially people who aren't devs, like, I watch the Great British Bake Off despite not being a baker, right? I watch Making It despite not being a like DIY or crafts person, because it's entertaining. It's fun to watch, even though I don't do the thing that I'm watching. And I think at this point, especially post-pandemic, everybody had to go online. We all have some awareness of the web. And I think people are interested in how we make the computers do the things that we make them do. So even beyond like web devs watching this show, I think we're going to get web dev adjacent people watching this show, and they're going to see these different tools and stuff. And like, if I'm watching, I bought stuff for my kitchen off the Great British Bake Off because I was like, oh, I didn't know that thing even existed, and I want it, right? To me, that's like huge business value. The potential audience is enormous. The fact that they will actually see the tool get built, the fact that it'll be like a reference implementation put together in an open source repo that other people can go and look and copy paste from to implement the tool in their apps. That's enormous business value. And then there are so many sponsorship opportunities here, because we're also going to need an official deployment partner. We're going to need a testing partner. What if one of the ways the challenges works is we give you a set of integration tests and you have to make them pass, right? What a great opportunity for somebody like Cypress to sponsor as like the official testing partner. And then there's all the standard product placement stuff like desks and chairs and monitors, and even like a company that wants to be the official like mug sponsor or something. There's so many places that we can do sponsorship here. And none of that really impacts what people build except the secret ingredient. It just impacts like the strict structure of the show. If we get a integration testing sponsor, then we have a challenge where you get a set of integration tests and you have to make them pass. That's kind of a cool thing to do, right? I would like to see that anyways. And for a company that wants to get more people to believe that testing is important, what a great way to do that than to make a game out of it, And then for TDD enthusiasts and stuff, it's the whole thing is like, hey, this is everything that we've been trying to do with webinars, with conference talks, with demo videos, all these things that we're doing that we're trying to send out to raise awareness. Like, we're not raising awareness. We're catching people who are already aware. And if we as companies want to reach a broader audience, this is how we do it. We make something that people opt into watching, and then they will see your product be used as part of watching a thing that they were going to watch anyways. That, I think, is why this space is so. That's why we need to go this direction as an industry. It really is going to make all the difference in the world, for like how we do this. I think like it's the companies that get this right are going to be the companies that get to write their own ticket in the future. So, anyways, all that. is let's see. You know, I don't know that I like the phrasing, but I think I like the sentiment here of like we watch things because we like seeing people be good at things. I think there's the other side of that where you watch a show like Nailed It, which is we watch things because we like seeing people be bad at things. I would say Nailed It and Wipeout and some of those shows where it's sort of like the average person struggling to do something that is pretty challenging. Those are sort of the other way around. And I think those can be fun also. I probably wouldn't do that with web dev just because I think it's already perceived to be so hard that like watching somebody be bad at web dev isn't really going to be fun. It's just going to be like, ugh. But watching somebody be really good at it, like watching somebody be competent, I think is it's rewarding. Like, I don't know about y'all, but like on TikTok, if I watch one of those videos where somebody they're in a family that's made like the certain type of teapot or noodles or like woodworking or whatever for generations, and they do these like silent videos where it's just them being truly excellent at something for 5 minutes, I will watch every minute of it. It's so good. Because it's just nice to watch somebody be truly excellent at something. And I think we can do that. So Great British Bake Off, great format for this. Lots and lots of opportunities to bring in like business value in addition to really high entertainment value. But like, why stop there? Why not make a version of Kitchen Nightmares or Queer Eye where we go and find all these businesses that they were forced to go online during the pandemic. They had no money, they had no time, they had no resources, and they just made these crappy template websites because they had to. And now they're getting killed by sites like Grubhub and Amazon, and because they just don't have, their website sucks, right? Why not send in an elite team of like 3 to 5 web experts, a UX researcher, a designer, a dev, like a front of the front end dev, a back of the front end dev, and just go build them an incredible site, right? And like business value wise, hey, Shopify, let's talk, right? Like, what an easy way for you to go bring a bunch of retailers into the fold by going and finding crappy retailer websites that were forced to go online, build them something dope, put it on top of Shopify, and then these companies, like all these small retailers, watch that show because they want to see, what does a good website take? What does it look like, right? And we can put the right constraints in place so that it's not like, hey, these are the best of the best web devs, and to get one of these of your own, you would have to hire 5 web devs at 150,000 plus a year. Obviously, that's not feasible. But like, what could we build on a budget that actually works for the average small retail business? Or like, what can we build that we could drop as a template for other businesses to use? I don't know, but why not? Like, why not go and make that? There's so many. There's so many ways that we could borrow ideas from other successful shows that have already been borrowed in like 16 different verticals and just go and make them web dev adjacent, right? I think that, to me, that's like, feels like this is the future of where we're going. And I kind of want to keep moving it that way. So anyways, right. This is the thing. And I also think it would be very fun to be part of it. Support afterward would be key. I would actually say that would be as I was designing it, I would be looking at maintainability as like the most important consideration, because when I'm thinking of what a small business needs, it's not ongoing costs. It's like 0 cost upkeep. And so you'd have to be looking at what's the thing that you can hand to a client. And like this, then, I also think a show like this would help if we were responsible about it, which, if I get to be involved, I will be very responsible about it, is reminding developers that like the point of this isn't to use like the most cutting edge tech. It's to use the thing that makes the end result the best possible thing for the users and the site maintainers. And that might mean that like we're shipping a WordPress content management system with Shopify for the products, right? because maybe that's the easiest thing for a person to maintain that gets automatically updated and has built-in security fixes and all these things that may not be true with the most bleeding edge tools. Or maybe it doesn't. Like I'm not saying that's what will happen, but those types of choices are the types of choices that I think are the most important ones that we make as devs, and whether or not we should use, the next app directory or the next pages directory has no functional impact on the people maintaining the site, the devs maintaining the site, sure, but the person who gets that site after the dev makes it and has to put content into it and has to make sure that it stays live and updated, they don't care. They care what the text field looks like and whether or not it saves when they hit save. Those are the sorts of things that I think we sometimes lose sight of, and a show like this I think would be really good at it would be a good platform for teaching some of that restraint, some of that practicality to attempt to remind people that this job is about the people who use the websites and the people who have to manage the websites once we've built them. UI for the dev guy. It can be Q&A. You got a question? Let's see, what are we talking about? Let me do a little nudge. I know I'm that guy, but if you subscribe to the channel, especially on YouTube, because that seems to be the one that everybody looks at, subscribe on YouTube, like the videos, share the videos. It helps, because the higher those numbers are, the easier it is for companies to support these bigger initiatives. So please do help me, spread the word, make the noise, do all the things. Oh, Charles, thank you so much for gifting out the subs. I appreciate you very, very much. What can you say about new dev generation versus the old devs? I mean, okay, so contextually, I've been doing this for 20 years, so I think I was not the first generation of web devs, but I was shortly thereafter, and I've seen the cycles a couple times now where we've kind of fought the same fights. I will say that new web devs and old web devs have most of the same challenges. The difference is that what we are struggling with tends to shift. We didn't have as many abstractions when in 2000. When we were 20 years ago, 2003 was when I was first learning HTML and CSS. And I remember the first sites that I built were table based. And if you wanted to put rounded corners on something, you needed a 9-panel layout so that you could do an image for the rounded corner, an image for the rounded corner, so that's 4 images, then you've got 4 for your borders and then 1 in the middle. And suddenly you've got 9 panels, right, for this one piece of content. I remember designing in Photoshop and then cutting it up into slices and then putting those slices into table cells to give myself a non-standard layout. And you just didn't have abstractions for that. I wanted to do a little bit of JavaScript, and there was no such thing as a JavaScript abstraction. There was DHTML, and it didn't work very well. And it was real janky and weird, and there was tons and tons of browser inconsistencies. And so the things that we fought about were what's the best CSS reset? What's the right way to use JavaScript? And when does it make sense to include DHTML? And how do you, should you use Flash or should you use web standards? And, is there all these, they weren't different. It was the same things. Right now we're arguing about, should you use Next or should you use web standards? Should you use, and ultimately the answers are all the same. It's either somebody saying you should use my thing because it's the thing I like, and anybody who doesn't use the thing I like is bad, or it's people saying you should use the thing that you like because it's the thing that you're going to actually use and it's going to get you results. And then there's the group of people saying use whatever you want as long as you're thinking about why you're using it and making something that's actually valuable. All of that is like, those arguments haven't changed. And I think the only thing that really changes is that over time, the web browser has adopted some of the strongest abstractions. When jQuery came out at the time, it was revolutionary. Today, most of the most revolutionary parts of jQuery are built into browsers. So we don't need jQuery in the way that we used to need jQuery back in the day. It's still useful. Still, I think, by a order of magnitude more popular than any other JavaScript framework out there. But the revolutionary part of it is now built into the browser with like query selector and other features like that. And so I think, from a like community standpoint, I don't see any like old devs were better or worse than new devs who are better or worse. I see there are the same camps having different arguments, or the same camps having same arguments about different particular abstractions. And ultimately, it's, I don't know. I'm older now, so I think it makes me more tired than it did when I was young and like thought I wanted to have those fights, but I mean, here's one of the things about table layouts or any of those things is like when you have a table-based layout, you're inventing the thing from scratch. And this is what I think made some of the old web so iconic is when you look at like the Space Jam website, it is chaos, right? But somebody was looking at it and they were saying like, well, I mean, there's not really rules. You just put something on the internet and you can do whatever you want. And there were the Flash websites, which were effectively like interactive movies. There was, everybody had like I don't know if you remember this era of the web, but everybody had like an intro, like a Flash intro. So you'd go to their website and it would like play you a little movie and then it would say enter site and you'd have to click again to enter the site. It was wonderful and terrible and so many things. But like the thing that I loved about that era and that I sometimes miss today is that because everything was so new, we were all doing different, we were all inventing, and everything that we made was different. And I do think it was all demonstrably worse, but it was all new. It was different. It was exciting. You would see somebody try a layout and you'd be like, I hate that, but I've never seen it before. And so I think that, to me, that was sort of like the magic of that era of the web, was that we didn't have patterns yet. We didn't have standards. Users didn't even have expectations yet because we hadn't really figured out how the web as a medium worked. Today, there are so many standards and there are so many patterns that have been established that to violate them it's kind of like it's a statement. And if you're trying to reach users, the average person has now learned a bunch of patterns about how the web works. The buttons should be in this place. When they swipe their finger, it should do this thing. When they tap, it should do that thing. And those patterns are good. You want to use those patterns. But the challenge with patterns like that is they start to build a fairly tight structure for like what will work as a website. And I think that's why you see when you look through the web, the structure doesn't change very much. And the shape of a button doesn't really change. And all of these are good things. It means that I know how to navigate the web when I navigate the web. So this isn't me saying like, I don't like the modern web. What I'm saying is there's this little bit of wonder, and the wonder was tightly coupled with being worse. And I think that's important to call out because I'm not like, there's this this fallacy that people have. I think it's like the noble savage fallacy, where you look back into older times and say, it was simpler, it was better, we were happy. No, you weren't. You were miserable. You were outside, you were wet all the time, you had tons of diseases, everybody was dying early. Like, it wasn't better. It was simpler, maybe, but also you were working 14 hours a day to forage for food. It wasn't better, all right? And I think the web is kind of the same. Like, I have nostalgia for what I think I could call the shitty web, where I miss the like discussions about mystery meat navigation. You almost never hear about mystery meat navigation now, because we've all decided that we just use the same 3 patterns. You either have nav at the top, or you have a hamburger menu, or you have nav at the bottom. And that's all you see. Like, there aren't a lot of additional options, right? Like, that's what nav is. And if you see something different, it is a statement. It's a whole thing. And so I think, there's a little bit of nostalgia for the inventiveness of, like, there are no rules, so let's just try it and see what happens. And I think that with that comes a bit of when you're experimenting, most experiments are bad, right? That's just kind of how it works. So the Space Jam site was very interesting. I would say from a UX standpoint, it's bad, but I love it. I still love it. Like, yes, it's worse than a regular website. Also, it is so much better than a regular website, right? Like, those are the trade-offs. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, and like, not having patterns is bad, right? Like, we want to be able to use things. There's a whole book on this called Don't Make Me Think that talks about the need for, like, when you're designing something, you're going for the thing that somebody already knows how to use. And that's what we're doing with a lot of the web, is we're building things that people already know how to use because they've used it 1,000 times before. So our leeway as creatives is getting narrower, which is good because constraints make for good art, I think. And we just have a little less opportunities to, like, go fully off the rails, which is better and worse. It's better because people can actually use the things we build. It's worse because we're not doing as much completely off the wall experimentation that could help us find new patterns that would maybe be better than the ones we have today. But also, when you hit a certain kind of critical mass, like, even if the pattern's better, that doesn't mean that people can use it. Like, are you really going to retrain the billions of people that are on the internet on how to use different patterns? Like, probably not, like, I think this is why people get frustrated with new generations of apps, is something like Snapchat's a good example. The navigation in Snapchat is so utterly unintuitive to me. It's all the patterns are different. Everything is weird. I don't know where stuff is. There aren't buttons. You just have to do gestures. And, like, it was so hard for me to use Snapchat. I haven't used it in a long time, so I don't know if it's still like that, but, like, I couldn't really use it. I never really did figure it out. TikTok sort of felt the same when I first got it, where I was like, I don't get what's happening. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And so I think that as these new patterns do emerge, and this sort of, like, mobile app gesture first interactivity is something that is emergent. Like, it's new. It challenged what we all thought was the norm. And then it makes me, somebody who's, been around for a long time, feel like I don't understand these newfangled apps, and I think this is sort of the curve of history, is like, when you're young, you think that everything new is your duty to love and care about. And then as you get older, you get busy and you start to say, the things that I have are good enough. And then as you get even older, you start to say anything new is an active inconvenience and I don't want to deal with it. And then you start to, like, close down on new tech, and it sort of leaves you being the person who, I don't know how my remote control works, like that kind of thing, and I think we all say that we're not going to become that person, but, like, there are definitely things that I see, I'm like, I'm not learning that. Like, I've already caught myself doing that a few times, where I'm like, I'm not learning that. I don't want to know how that works. And so, I see how we get to where we get. And all that to say, like, I do think new patterns are coming out, and I think that there are very creative things happening. We're far from done with innovating in this space. And that's like the longest answer ever to a question that you didn't actually ask. Rose-colored glasses. Page. Is this a risky click? Am I going to be sad about this one? Let's pull this back up. Go to come on. Explore. Oh, this has got like the, oh, that one's broken. Yeah, this has got that like GeoCities vibe. Yeah, this is fun. And like, I like this stuff. This is a little bit more of like I'm, decorating my wall with posters, which is, I'm into it. Like, I don't mind. But it I don't know, like, is the Space Jam, it's not up anymore, right? They changed it for, oh, this is the old one. And like, this is a great website for so many reasons. Like, look, there's center tags. We got tables. There it is. There's our table. Right? So then you've got right here, got each of these, and then what's happening? Is there a background image? How did they get this image in here? Oh, they just straight up threw the image in. This is great. Like, isn't this chaotic? Like, this is wonderful. This is an absolutely just pure chaos website, and it makes me so happy. And they're just doing like image widths and heights to make everything work. It's so good. It's so good. And also just the like V-align stuff. Oh my God. Can you imagine trying to do something like this today? Like, we would just never do it. We would start looking at this and be like, no, absolutely not. Make it a bulleted list. Right? But like, this is cool. This is chaos. I love it. It's also like bad. This is bad. This is not good navigation. You can't even freaking read it. You got to like zoom way in to see what's going on. But it's still fun. It's very, very fun. But yeah, I think let's see. What do we got? What are y'all talking about? Oh, AI questions. I think so. I am not an AI expert, so like, take all of this with a little bit of a grain of salt here, because I'm observing as somebody who has been around long enough to see a few like this changes everything type trends. And what I have observed is that what we're calling AI is just much better machine learning. And it's not going to, at least not soon, I don't think, fully replace humans. It's going to replace humans in the same way that like automatic transmissions replace humans, right? You still need a person to drive the car. You don't have to do as much work to drive the car. I think that there are pieces of AI that will cause shifts in the job market, like, in the same way that the Industrial Revolution meant that you didn't need as many people standing on an assembly line. It created jobs in like maintaining the assembly line pieces and like manufacturing assembly line parts, and like it creates roles as it eliminates roles, and that's just sort of the shift of organizations as they grow and evolve. I also think, like what I'm seeing AI emerge as, where it seems to be really useful, is as a thinking augmentation tool. So like, if you look at like, here's one. that Cassidy Williams and her team are working on. And what I think is really interesting about this is like, it's here to help you think. Can I just log in with Google? Sure, I'll be an executive. I'm an executive today. And so, like, as you dig into this, what would you like to brainstorm? I want to come up with an idea for a video about modern CSS. Okay, there we go. All right, so then you send it, and it's going to come back with some ideas. Tell me more about what specific aspects of modern CSS you're interested in exploring in your video. Okay, great. I'm really interested in the modern color spaces like OK, LCH, and things like animated gradients. That did better than I expected. Oh, and you can edit. Oh, okay. If you click on it, you can edit it to make it say the thing that you meant. Okay. Great niche. How would you like to structure your video? Do you want it to be more of a tutorial, a deep dive, combination of both? What if it was more of a story-based type of a video? That's a unique approach. What kind of story are you considering? Revolves around a problem that can be solved. Yeah, that sounds good. So I'm not going to keep going because I think I'm like up against my own limit of ideas here, but like this is like, I think this is really interesting because instead of me trying to stare at a blank page, you know, you can just sit down and say like, I've been told I need to write a paper about thing. And then it isn't thinking for you. It's doing what a good editor or a collaborator would do and like asking you a series of questions to get your brain working better, right? And to me, this is like I've kind of thought of like what's that phrase that Steve Jobs used, like a bicycle for your brain or something like that. I feel like that's sort of what this is, right? In the same way that computers suddenly gave us a bunch of capabilities that were previously exorbitantly expensive or extremely time consuming, and suddenly people could create a lot more, but like people were still creating, right? AI, I think, is in the same vein of like, it's going to make us capable of doing more things. It is going to replace a small number of things, but in the replacement, it will also create new jobs. Like, okay, if we're looking at the dire timeline of like AI is going to replace writing, journalism, because it's just going to summarize all the tweets, somebody's got to fact check that, right? Like no reputable news source is going to just auto publish AI. They're going to, and you know, I'm sure somebody's digging up a link right now to a formerly reputable news source who did that, but we're going to learn that doesn't work. Like you can't just publish what AI says. You have to check it. You've got to look at it, and well, that'll get better over time, I'm sure. And new jobs will be created in that time at the same, you know, as well. Like this is an evolving space, and we, unfortunately, we're not going to get to the point because billionaires aren't built like this. They're not just going to let everybody be alive and like have universal income and the robots do all the work. Like, could we get there? Who knows? Maybe. Will we? Never. It's just not the way humanity is wired. And so in the absence of that, there's always going to be work. We're always going to find things that people can do. And especially in this technology space, we're becoming more and more reliant on technology with every passing year. That means that like, the job, like maybe it's going to be less prestigious. Like maybe being a developer isn't the $200,000 a year job anymore. And it starts to become like being an accountant, where it's a thing that everybody needs. We all got to do it. and it pays the same as an accountant makes, or the same as a bank manager, or all these other like critical functions. They maybe won't be glamorous anymore. But that's, I think that's the evolution of things. Like there was probably a time where being there was a time, I think, where being the foreman of an assembly line during the Industrial Revolution was like one of the most prestigious things you could be. It was a great, you got a pension, you got paid great, you had, great vacation options. And over time that just became less prestigious, right? And so it's still a good job. And I doubt they have pensions anymore because I don't think those exist outside of the government, but it's, it's still a job. So anyways, that's my take on AI. Went to a designer and said, I want different from your standard dashboard layout. Yeah. How's it going? How do you find that to be? Oh, your daughter did one? I want to look at this. Let's see. Lillian. I can't copy out of. Wait, what did I do? Did I spell this wrong? Lillian.page, not app. This is cute. I love this one. This is a good one. This is fun. Okay, so it's a Canvas no-code tool. That makes way more sense. Okay, all right. I'm with this. I like it. Sort of like a possibly even more approachable version of Glitch. That's cool. I like that. Landing pages. Do people actually read landing pages thoroughly to understand your... Okay, this is actually something that I think is... this is worth discussing because I had this conversation with Marissa yesterday as I was putting together the partners site. And as I was doing it, I added in this copy here. And she was like, that's too much copy. You shouldn't, you don't need that. Nobody's going to read that. And I was about to delete it, and then I thought about it, and I was like, well, wait. If I went to a landing page and the landing page had a headline and a start now button on it, I'm not going to click. I don't know what that is, right? I need more context. And even if I don't read the rest of the copy, knowing that it's there tells me in my head, there's some additional context that was provided. Even if I don't feel the need to read it, it comforts me, right? It's like a little security blanket of somebody did their due diligence. I'm not going to read it, but I'm glad somebody did. And I think the other piece of it is that a lot of times what will happen on a landing page is that you scroll it, not reading every word, but looking for the pieces that jump out as this is relevant to me. And I think this is actually the major challenge that a lot of landing pages have is if your landing page is a love letter to your ideas and you're saying, look how cool I am, look how creative I am, et cetera, then the challenge becomes does anybody else care? How do they see themselves in here? If somebody comes to this page, they're presumably thinking, what's in it for me? How does my life improve if I do the thing that this landing page is about? And a lot of times we, especially as technologists, I see a lot of product companies that they've built cool tools and their landing pages are them talking about how cool their tools are. And they have no mention of really connecting the coolness of their tech to the value it creates for the person who chooses it. It's written specifically for tech nerds who just want the latest and greatest tech. And that's a pretty small group, right? The majority of us, I would say, I like new tech and I love learning about it. But if I'm trying to solve a problem, if I'm choosing something for my company, right? The questions I'm asking are not, am I using the most modern tech? Am I using the thing that is, 3.1% faster than the other thing? I'm asking, which is the thing that is not going to break in the middle of the night? Which is the thing that is going to continue to run unmaintained for years because I don't have the time to continue maintaining this project once I ship it. I have 500 other projects that I have to take live that I haven't even been able to start on yet because this one's been hanging over my head. Those are the types of things that businesses are thinking about. And so when I show up on a page and the page is like, we here, look at this benchmark. I'm like, I don't use any of those tools either. So what does this benchmark mean to me? Right. And especially when we start getting into the teeny tiny details of like, I don't know, 0.1 seconds or something like that. Like that's outside of the realm of human perception. And it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't. Like I don't know. I mean, is it fast enough? Is it fast enough? That's the piece I care about. And fast enough is not fastest. It's not blazingly fast or whatever. It's just, if somebody loads this website, are they going to go, this website seems slow? And almost all modern frameworks now, it won't seem slow. Like you have to make mistakes to make it seem slow. And we can argue about which frameworks make it easier or harder to make those mistakes. Sure, I have my opinions. But ultimately, that's not what I want your marketing page to be about. I want your marketing page to be about like, we reduce your on-call time. We shorten the time between you having an idea and that idea being published. We publish things that literally cannot go out of date because they're all web standards and browsers don't break the web. We haven't had a breaking change in production for 7 years. Like those are great selling points to a business. And it talks about what the business cares about. So a landing page, I think, going into those details, not all of those details, but you choose the ones that you think are for our target audience. And ideally it's not what you think, it's what you've done research and discovered. Your target customers believe and care about a certain set of things. Your marketing pages should be a discussion of those things framed from their perspective, what they care about, where they get value. And if you're doing that, then they scan this page and every headline they see, they're like, yeah, that sounds like me. Ooh, that sounds like me too. Wait, I want to know more about that. And they read one section and they go, you know what? This sounds like it's built exactly for me. And they click the Start Now button. If you can make that visually impressive, all the better. Like, the perception of quality. Like, I'll give you an example. When you use something that feels expensive, what does it mean when it feels expensive? Like, we just got our kitchen redone, right? And the faucet in our sink, somebody who has no idea what our old faucet was like or anything like that, they came in and they used the faucet and they were touching it and they were like, man, this feels good. This feels quality. And you can tell that difference, right? Like when you touch a faucet that feels like cheapy plastic, like if I pull the sprayer part of this faucet out, it's going to snap off. Like it just feels like crap. And then the one next to it, you're like, this feels good. Like it feels like it's got weight, like it's quality construction, whatever it is. I think building a landing page has that similar feel. If you use a website and that website feels good, it feels solid, like it's well constructed, it gives you the perception of quality. And that perception of quality is quality. But it's ultimately like what you're trying to do is get that same initial impression of like when I pick up an electronic device, it's like a luxury electronic that's earned its luxury status by being just, amazing materials, amazing ergonomics. It feels good. When you pick it up, you go, ooh, I like that. When you open a website that feels that way, you go, ooh, I like that. And then you're willing to assign more value to that company. You're willing to pay them more money. That's why companies spend money on this stuff. I do think it's very easy for that to shift across the line from we're trying to explain what we do in terms of how it benefits the customer in a way that feels high quality. you can tip over to, we're trying to talk about how cool we are and show how cool we are by playing with all these new toys. It's hard. It's really hard. Do we rely too much on patterns losing the expiration? I think so. I do. I think that's why when Bootstrap came out, everybody started complaining about the bootstrapification of the internet. And now these days it's like everything looks like a Tailwind site. And that's not, again, it's not bad. Like, it's just we're standardizing on patterns, and sometimes you don't got to think about the pattern when you're just trying to get something out the door. But it does create challenges for us in the sense of, are we, what is the incentive to push the envelope? And the risk is very high. And like, we see people do it. And the companies that do it well end up being household names. You got the Stripes, and their landing pages tend to inform what everybody does on the internet for the next year. And then like Linear just did it. Everybody's ripping off the Linear look. And it's like, there are benefits to iterating and expanding on these patterns, but there's risks too, because if you do something unusual and it's not a hit, like the Stripe homepage or the Linear homepage, then people are like, this, I don't know, this doesn't feel right. So, risks and rewards. Found your first job as a front-end developer. Congratulations. That's I think the hardest part right now is getting that first chance. You're hyped but worried at the same time, and you don't know what to expect. So every company is different, and so you're going to have to feel out how your coworkers are. But what I've found to be as close to a universal truth as there can be in groups of people is that if you are earnestly trying to learn, trying to improve, and trying to help, it is almost impossible to fail. You can have social situations that are not functional, that have nothing to do with you. But assuming your situation is functional and that the company is healthy, or at least mostly healthy, then doing what you can to learn, to demonstrate that learning, like really, keep a little record of like what you've learned and what you've shipped, and make sure that you're writing down your progress, because it can feel like this industry is so big. It is a broad field with a lot of depth in a lot of different areas, and you'll most likely never learn even half of it. So it'll always feel like there's more to learn, that you don't know enough, that you need to, be trying harder. And if you keep track of what you're working on and like what you learned today, and keep those notes, one, it's good to be able to show your manager at review time, like, here's how I've been progressing. Like, this is what I've shipped. This is what I've done. This is what I can do today that I couldn't do when I started. That's how you'll get your next promotion. You'll get your raises, things like that. But it's also this record that you can keep for yourself to show you your own growth and try to combat your feeling of inadequacy, because it'll happen to all of us. Like, again, 20 years in the industry, I still will often feel like, man, I'm not doing enough. I don't know enough. I need to learn more. But if you're looking back at your list of what you've learned, what you've done, as long as that list is steadily improving, this idea, James Clear has this concept of like, get 1% better every day. And if you look at the math for 1% better every day, 1% better, let's see, we'll just look at the graph here. This is the difference of like 1% better, because 1% better makes the overall number bigger. The growth goes up really fast. And if you focus on that, it'll always feel like you're not doing that much. And that's actually good. Like, sustainable growth should feel easy. But you're making big difference, like big gains. And I think that is a undervalued and kind of under-discussed thing about this industry is this isn't a hill you can climb. It's a journey that never ends, because even as you're learning things, the things that you learned will shift. They'll get new versions, new things will get published, things will go obsolete, new things will be invented, entire industries will shift. And that's good. That means that you're in a dynamic space that's got lots of growth potential and a long future. but you got to make sure that you stay motivated and keep track of, you know, your benefits as you go, right? Anyways, this is I think about this graph a lot because it's easy to look at like a giant project and say, well, I need to do that this week or else I'm a failure. It's like, well, hold on. Like what's one step I can take today? Because one step every day adds up in a big way over time. So anyways, congrats on your new job. And, you know, just keep having fun, keep learning. You're going to do great. Let's see. Would I rate a little app you made? I've never done it before. I'm a little nervous about, like, I don't know. Let's try it. If you want to share it, I'll take a look. I'd say ChatGPT, I say all the same things that I said about AI. Really, I find them to be roughly the same thing. Powder blue collar work. I really like that as a take. That is funny. I'm curious if it will be blue collar with better pay. I think it might just be blue collar. Like I do think that there is a world where the shine of engineering is going to fade away and it's just going to be like a job and it won't be the hot new industry with tons of people in it. Let's see, working on a new design that incorporates holofoil. I like that. That's a cool idea. Later, Dave. We FM. Exponential curves are exponential. That's actually a really good point. Like it's very difficult to think in terms of exponential math because, like, I don't know, my brain just doesn't process that way. Like when you think of exponential growth, like, I don't know, it's like that whole, what's that? If you take a piece of paper, hold on, there's a fun little exponential math thing. How many times do you need to fold paper to reach the moon? This is like a science class thing. So after 42 folds, a piece of paper would reach the moon if you could actually fold it that many times. So this is exponential math in place. So where is... So 0.1 millimeters thick, right, for a piece of paper. And then when you fold it, it's 0.2 millimeters. And you fold it again, it's 0.4 millimeters, right? And so it just keeps going and it keeps going and it keeps going. And it's suddenly like you're getting some absolutely absurd values. So 42 folds, which is not that many folds, goes from being 0.1 millimeters to being 440,000 kilometers. That's what? Like, that's absolutely mind-boggling. Exponential math is wild. Now, obviously, we can't actually fold a piece of paper 42 times. But how freaking cool is that? Like, it's extremely cool. Any way to fix this problem? But yeah, here's the exponential curve, and then it just goes, right? And I think this is a good reminder, I think, of this sort of stuff. Is that there is a lot of growth that feels like nothing is happening because look, nothing. Holy shit! And I think that is like when you're trying to get a job, when you're trying to learn a new skill, when you're trying to do anything, so much of the early steps they really are like, this is your 0.1 millimeter step. And you're just like, oh my God, nothing is happening. I'm learning, I'm trying every day. I'm doing this work every day. Nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. And then like you clear whatever that threshold is right here. And then everything changes. And it's like, that's when you start to feel like, oh, I can just play. Or suddenly after tons and tons of job applications, nothing happening, you get 3 offers simultaneously. Like, oh, it's wild. Oh, let's see. Would you give me the opinion on using autocomplete tools like GitHub Copilot or other tools to write code as a junior? Is that a good idea? If a future company doesn't allow tools like that, okay. I think companies not allowing that stuff is treating a symptom, not the cause. And I don't know how long it will be feasible for them to not allow it. Here's what I'll say. One of the longest running jokes in my career has been that people will not learn to program. They'll just go to Stack Overflow and copy paste the first answer and put it into production, right? Using Copilot to write code for you as opposed to using it as a pair programming buddy that you're going to then test and validate and double check and use critical thought about what code you just let Copilot write. If you treat it like that, it's great because it's going to help you shortcut some common stuff. Like if you wanted to write a for loop for you, great. They're almost always the same. You don't need to type those out yourself. But is there, like, if you say, write me an algorithm to do X, Y, Z, and it spits out 50 lines of code and you just ship it with no validation, no testing, no nothing, like, most of the time it might be fine, but like what you're creating at that point is code that not only you don't understand, but that nobody understands. Like no one has written this code. And so that feeling that you get, and I know that you're in your first job, so this might not be an experience that you've had. But for a lot of us, like there's this experience where you go into a company and you find the code base, and there's what they call the legacy code base. And you open it up and you look at it and you go, I don't know what this does. And so you ask somebody on the team, you go, hey, can you, are there docs? Is there any information? Like, how do I get my head around this code base? They go, we just don't go in there. That code is haunted. Just don't touch it. And now you've got this huge pile of code. You're not sure if it's being used. You're not quite sure what it does. You don't really know how to fix it if something goes wrong. So you just sort of put it in quarantine and you're like, we'll just never touch that again. It's the joke is that it becomes an append-only file. And I don't think that AI is the cause of those things. I think that is a mindset thing. That is I will copy paste this and not worry about the outcome. Right? That's a human problem. So Copilot can be used improperly. And I think if people are just ripping through auto-generated code and not looking at it, it's gonna be a bad time. Like somebody's gonna make a lot of money cleaning up your mess later on. But to say like not using it to take it away, I don't know. That feels to me like it. I think saying that today might feel like a perfectly reasonable response, but I feel like that would be the same as somebody saying like you can't use syntax highlighting in your IDE. You can't use a like TypeScript for auto completion. Like it. I don't know. I mean, I guess like somebody could auto complete their way into trouble if they weren't thinking very critically, but ultimately the productivity gains of having some of those common things done for you is just so high that I can't imagine companies will be able to stop their employees from using it. Like, I don't know. I hear stories about the restrictions that big companies or government agencies will put on what developers can and can't do inside the system. And then I talk to the developers and hear their absolutely unhinged workarounds for how they use those systems anyways without getting caught. And it's like, I mean, I guess you can take a 40% efficiency hit if you want to make your developers jump through hoops to do stuff that they want to do, but it doesn't seem like a long-term feasible strategy. I do think actually so here's a very, very good caveat, which is the IP issues. That is definitely that I have big questions about that. And it's yet another reason to like heavily vet any code that comes out of the auto generation. I personally don't use Copilot or anything to generate code for me. Where I have used those tools is more as a pair programmer where I can say, show me where this code gets used. Do I still have, let me see if I still have this. I might have turned it off. Extensions. Cody. I don't know if this is still gonna work for me. I had an account. It might not work anymore. Let's try it. Authorize. Yes. Okay. So looking at something like this, you can, let's go into the Explorer. And let's look at this here. Okay. So then I'm going to do something like this. I want to open the, no, I don't want custom commands. Just show me the panel. Ugh, I don't want to do it like that. Show me start a new chat panel. Here. There's a panel that I don't know how to open. Just give me a second to find it. View appearance, show me secondary sidebar. Nope, that's not it. Let's go into, where's the actual thing for this? There's is it the panel? No, it's not the panel. I've got all this stuff hidden because of the presenter mode to just keep things simpler. But the problem is when I need stuff and I don't know what it's called, tab bar, editor layout. No, that's not it. Explorer extensions. Cody. Yeah, so they have autocomplete, but I don't like that. New chat panel UI. And I want chat panel. There we go. That's the thing that I wanted. So over here, I can do something to the effect of let's close this and can you tell me how this component is used in this site? And the code snippets you have shared with me. Can you see the open maybe they changed this. Oh. Okay. Well, that's a bummer because what it used to do, and I don't know if this has changed or what, but it used to be able to read the open code base. Dang, that's a bummer because I thought that was cool. I also don't know how to close this tab now that I automatically include. Oh, okay. So now you have it. Can you see the open file now? But you said you did. I don't know. Okay, well, this was going to be fun, and it's clearly not working. So, anyways, I think Copilot will do this too, and I'm not going to try to enable Copilot at the moment. But let's turn that off, I guess, and just going to uninstall it because it's not doing what I thought it would do. Just keep my life simple. Okay. So what I like about it, and if I could, I'm sure somebody who knows that tool could show me how it works. But what I like about these code assistants is if you think of them as like a very knowledgeable coworker who has seen all of the code, and you can tap them on the shoulder and say, "Can you tell me what this does?" And then they're able to like point out like that component gets used here and here, and this is what the input looks like. This is what the output looks like. You can have it write some tests or things like that, and all of that is sort of looks. It just kind of turns the code into being. You have a reference, like a natural language reference to your own code base, which is really helpful when you've got a big code base. You didn't write most of it. You don't have good docs. The docs that you have are a little bit out of date. And that's really standard stuff when you work in a big company. So I do think that AI is incredibly useful there if it can see your code base. I'm sad that they can't see your code base anymore. Like, I like that by default it can't see your code base. I'm sad that when I turned it on it couldn't see the code base. That was a little bit of a bummer. Yeah, anyways. My IBM story. One of these days I'm going to actually publish that IBM story. Yeah, I think like plagiarism is a huge issue. You don't want to plagiarize anything. I don't like AI as a writing tool at all because I'm very worried about where did it get this writing from? Whose words am I using right now? And also, I don't know, like even just from a word soup kind of vantage point, like I think that AI writing tends to feel very lifeless. And I don't want that. I don't want to sound lifeless. So I will use it as a drafting tool. Like I showed Brain Story a minute ago. I think Brain Story is super cool. And I really do like it as like a thinking tool. Where did it go? Here. Like this is extremely cool. You get to, did I share this with everybody? Like, this is great, but you don't use the output of this. This is getting you to think through your problem so that you can go and solve your own problem. Great use for AI. Having a coding assistant that can tell you how something is used in your code base or, do some standard stuff like write a for loop for you or whatever. Great, super useful. But you shouldn't use it for the output. It shouldn't be the final product, right? It should be a thinking tool, not a publishing tool. Let's see. Let's see here. At the end, you want to have every advantage as a modern programmer. You keep the power yourself, judge and learn from it. So maybe a guide on how to correctly use tools like this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the guide really is like, make sure you're learning. Like if you do a thing and you don't know why the thing did what it did, and you can't even begin to understand how it would do that thing, you're in dangerous waters. Like you want to make sure that the things you're doing are things that you can trace to their origins, and like if you needed to, you could figure out how that thing worked. Like I don't know algorithms. I never learned like the computer science algorithm. So if you need me to write a binary sorting algorithm, I'm going to go to Stack Overflow and I'm going to find other people's binary sorting algorithms and I'm going to copy paste them. However, I can pick them apart and I can explain to you why they're doing what they're doing. And if I were to so choose, I could memorize that so that I could write it again later, but I won't. I'll just let somebody, I know that a binary sorting algorithm is what it is, and I can like rely on that to be a binary sorting algorithm. And I can explain it, like I can step you through the code and explain what happens. But like, you don't need to know that. Like you don't need to have that memorized. And I think that that's sort of where I see AI being really useful, is it takes the auto completion a step further by being contextually aware. But you still need to be able to know. You need to know what it's doing, right? That's important. And I think that is the part of AI that makes me a little nervous, is this sort of almost gleeful embrace of not needing to think anymore. Like that's not going to bite us in the ass later. Yeah, use it for an outline, then fill in the blanks. I love it for that. I think it's great. AI art is super lifeless. I definitely agree. I think that AI art is such a... I also like AI art as a drafting tool. Like I think it's super cool for an artist to use something like Midjourney to, put in a bunch of ideas and see what kind of weird stuff comes out, and then use the weird generated art as parts of the final like human generated art. Or like you can still do like, I don't know, it's not saying like digital art is art, but like if you put a bunch of things into a blender and then like dump them out on the page and say I made this, that's a little weird to me. I think, and it also just, I don't know, like it's just weird. Like when you look at AI art up close, it looks unsettling. And I feel like a great artist would take that cool looking AI art and then they would use that as like their model to produce something that is theirs and that doesn't have those unsettling bits, like the hands are all wrong, or there's extra feet, or the faces are just like kind of weird, like smudges. Yeah, I don't know. Don't know. As a lead designer, encourage my designers to learn LLMs. It won't replace us anytime soon, but having the familiarity on usage, experience with keywords, occasionally comparing their own docs with an LLM written one is very useful. I think this is the right way to do it. Like this is where my heart goes also, is like to say that a tool is like to just say no entirely feels a bit like what I was joking about earlier. Like as we start to get older, we just look at new tech and we go, I'm not learning how to use that. And I think I have so many ethical questions around AI, and they're like, there's that whole copyright hearing, like they got to pay the copyrights on their training data. Like you can't use somebody's work to then charge people for work generated from that work and not pay for the work you used, right? Like we gotta solve those problems. That being said, like the cat's out of the bag. Like AI is here in the flavor that it's in. Like this kind of advanced machine learning it has worked its way into just about every part of the stack. And, we're going to start seeing this being really core to the way that we interact with the web and with the world. And so to completely dismiss it and say, I refuse to learn this, is going to be a bummer. To go the other way and completely embrace it and say, I'm never going to have to use my brain again, is so much worse. So we want to be in the middle. We want to be able to do the things that the AI can do. We want to embrace the parts that AI can safely do. And we need to be the human moderator that is making sure that the thing we're doing isn't crap, that it's not plagiarism, that we're not, shipping somebody else's art that the AI ingested and then fed back to us as if it was original. Like those sorts of things can be really big problems. But I don't know. I think, let's see, the art is subjective and AI art can blur the lines of authenticity. Oh man, you want to get into some real weird stuff about authenticity. I went on this rant previously, and I've got like a few minutes left today, so I'm probably not going to do it today. But authenticity is such a weird. Authenticity is a shared delusion, right? Okay, hold on. Let me switch. Authenticity is a shared delusion. Authenticity is a shared delusion. Like it's such a fascinating thing because the only thing that makes something authentic is that we all collectively agreed that the person who made it is important and the thing they made was made by them. That's authenticity. It's so incredible because two perfectly equal pieces of art have wildly different values based on who the person is that made them and whether or not society has decided that person is worth something. It just boggles my mind, absolutely boggles my mind. So is AI art authentic? Not right now. But if we all decide that it is, then it is. Right? And like, this is like, it's like that argument of like, that's not real music, like at one point in time, the Beatles or Elvis or Chuck Berry or James Brown or like any of these folks, somebody heard that and they were like, that's not real music, because it was pushing the envelope of whatever music was, right? And it didn't adhere to whatever rules we decided music needed to adhere to. Like Skrillex is a more modern example where people heard it, they're like, that's not music, that's robots in a blender. But eventually that stuff absolutely changed the entire landscape of what music is, because we all decided that in fact it is music. And now societally, we've kind of all collectively agreed that the Beatles are one of the greatest music acts of all time. Whether or not we all agree with that is a, like obviously there are niches of people who don't like the Beatles or anything, but very few of us would argue that it's not music, right? It is authentically music, and the Beatles catalog is authentically valuable because we've decided that the Beatles are authentic musicians. Fascinating. But if you ask somebody who was born in the 30s about the Beatles music, they'd be like, that's trash noise. That's not music. I love it. It's fascinating. It's so magical. Human brains are the best brains because they're so broken and they're so weird, and we believe ourselves to be so correct about everything, and we're just fundamentally not. Like, we're just all hallucinating together in the most bizarre ways, and then we argue like it's all facts, and I love it. I love it so much. So anyways, yeah, I know. Even human artists have a tough time drawing hands. I don't draw hands. I draw fists. My drawings all have little ball fists because that's how I draw a hand. All right, y'all. I got to be done. I think I got a couple things I got to take care of today, and I also really need to eat something or I'm going to fall over. So thank you all so much for hanging out. We're back. Okay, hold on. Before I go, let me do a couple teardown things. We got good stuff coming up. On Thursday, we're going to build emails using JSX. I'm really excited about this. I have to send email. I don't like to send email. I would love to find a better flow for what I'm doing because I feel like I'm fighting my tools every step of the way when I write emails now. Andrew is talking about solutions, and I'm very, very interested to hear them. We've also got, let's see then. Oh, wait, no, that's next week because this week is U.S. Thanksgiving. Okay. All right. Y'all, I don't know if you're in the U.S. and you're doing Thanksgiving. I hope that you have a good one. We're not cooking a turkey because turkey's fine. Turkey's fine. But we're going to do a braised roast and a bunch of sides. We made this like cauliflower puree thing that like, I know what you're thinking right now. You're going, cauliflower? Really? You're excited about that? Dude, so good. So good. So all that being said, I'm just going to stop talking. Thanksgiving is U.S. Thanksgiving, so there will not be a stream this week. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday if you observe. If you don't, I hope you have a great Thursday. And I will be back doing one of these streams next Tuesday, so we'll see you then. Andrew is coming on the 30th, right? So not this Thursday, but next Thursday. And I got a bunch more that need to get up on the site. I will make sure that those get listed. We got a fun December. We're actually booked into January now, so I got to get those listed. Thank you all so much for hanging out. It's been fun as always, and appreciate you spending the time. We'll see you in a week. Later.